Hello everyone! Seeking to live a holy life, a life guided by the virtues of honor and justice. It's a noble goal. However, for some, like Archbishop Benedictus, it's harder than it seems. In times of hardship and pain, dedication to this purpose, it can seem misplaced. And we have seen that once ardent believers, they can lose their faith.
Light. Must remember the light.
In his youth, Benedictus, like many others, he was a follower of the Church of the Holy Light, and so enamored with his faith was he that he became a student of Yogg-Saron's religious leader, the much beloved Archbishop Aloysius Val. Aloysius being described as warm and kindly, and being rather similar to Great Father Winter in appearance as much as personality, he taught Benedictus for many years. His students even helped in the Church of the Light in the construction of Stormwind's most striking monument, the Cathedral of Light. Benedictus had lived through the First War and the Second, and though the suffering he saw, it troubled him greatly, his faith remained strong. In some ways, he even saw conflicts as a test of his beliefs. Now after the death of his beloved mentor Aloysius, Benedictus, he took on his role as the Archbishop of the Church of Light, and he swore to continue the good work that Aloysius had begun so many years before. It was with this role and responsibility that Benedictus then faced the Third War, a brutal war against the demons of the Burning Legion.
What is this? What are you doing, my son? Succeeding you, father.
Benedictus could not conceive how the Holy Light could let Yogg-Saron fall, how it could abandon the good people of their land, as he saw the fates of King Tyrannus, Prince Arthas, and the paladins who themselves fought in the name of the light. Benedictus' faith, it was at a breaking point. Why had the Holy Light not protected them? Why had it abandoned its loyal servants? Whilst outwardly he appeared as the pious archbishop, the embodiment of staunch and unshaken devotion to the faith, inwardly Benedictus' mind was roiled in uncertainty, and he was not alone in having a vulnerable state of mind. After the Third War, many people had witnessed some unspeakable horrors. It was these people, recovering, mourning, and questioning, that caught the attention of an apocalyptic organization, the Twilight Hammer cult. The Twilight Hammer clan had heard the whispers of the void and fanatically believed in the ultimate goal of complete apocalypse, and once they heard the whispers of the old gods on Azeroth, they became overcome with euphoria. This would be their stage on which they bring about the Hour of Twilight, a prophecy when shadow would envelop the world and snuff out all life in existence, the old gods reclaiming their Black Empire. Their leader Cho'Gall agreed, and their numbers grew, taking in members of all races, and the clan became a cult. Following the whispers of their new favorite entities, namely the Old Gods, the Twilight Hammer had aligned themselves with the Black Dragon Deathwing, previously known as Neltharion the Earth Warder, the dragon aspect of the Black Dragon Flight. Now he was known as a very big, very angry dragon that had been corrupted by the Old Gods, and he too wanted to usher in the Hour of Twilight.
And all will burn beneath the shadow of my wing.
As Deathwing was busy trying to destroy Azeroth, including an attack on Stormwind City, we saw Cho'Gall send his cultists out to the major cities to bring more people into the fold. Some of these cultists of the Twilight Hammer, upon learning of the Archbishop's unease, they flocked to him, pretending to be followers of the Holy Light who came to him in need of guidance, perhaps seeking out the broken and the vulnerable society. They granted him the ability to spot signs of the Archbishop's turmoil in his everyday demeanor. The words they spoke, they were calculated and deliberate. They told him of the void, its everlasting presence that would not, it could not ever leave its followers, like the Holy Light had done so readily. These words crept into the susceptible mind of Benedictus, and for the first time he found himself turning his back on the Holy Light. He was confused before, he was uncertain, but these fellow followers of the Holy Light, they had been abandoned too, and they spoke of the void as a familiar comfort. The comfort that once the light had provided him. Perhaps he thought the idea of shadow magic was not so corrupt and unthinkable after all. Perhaps he had been led to believe that by the Church of the Light, just as they had done when the Twilight Hammer set foot upon the lands of Azeroth. The old gods now whispered to Benedictus, their word tendrils of doubt creeping into his mind. They told him that the Holy Light was far from just and giving. It only tolerated perfect order and obedience, and it cared little for its devout followers. Slowly, the whispers crept through his mind, into his dreams, and after many nights, Benedictus, he dreamt a vision of the hour of twilight, a time in which the old gods would break free out of the prisons and end all life on the world. This thought, it gave him comfort. An ending, a purge of the light's tyranny over him. He thought that it would grant him freedom, but he had no idea of how imprisoned he had really become. The void, he thought, was not the source of lies, but of every possible truth, and he pledged his life to serving it. Benedictus fell into the fold of the Twilight's Hammer, becoming one of its most influential members. It took sheer willpower to continue wielding the power of the Holy Light, and the public, still seeing Benedictus as the kindly head of the church, they had no idea of the corruption that had taken hold of the bishop.
Let your faith guide you.
As the cultists had done to him, Benedictus now did to others. Outwardly, he was offering the comfort of faith to the disillusioned as he slowly converted them to their new cause. Benedictus' corruption, it ran deep, and he was intent on ushering a new age, one free from the corruption of the light, not content with merely bolstering the numbers of the Twilight Hammer with the disillusioned and those seeking guidance. Benedictus, he was ready to make a grand statement. On Remembrance Day, when Stormwind was still repairing following the attack of Deathwing, the citizens of Stormwind were closing the celebrations of the day and would soon gather in the Grand Cathedral for their king to speak. But Benedictus had arranged for Varian and his son Anduin to reunite at the grave of the former Queen Tiffin. Neither were expected to see each other that day, neither were quite ready for this unexpected family reunion. The corruption of the Archbishop was thorough, and bringing both royals together whilst the citizens were distracted. It was no mistake. Moments after Benedictus made his excuses to them and he left them behind, the crowns of Stormwind, they were ambushed by a group of dangerous-looking men as they stood around the grave of their beloved Tiffin. The assailants were warded by dark magic, and as the royals fought their way through the bolstered attackers, a sorcerer managed to finish a summoning portal before being killed. It was now that the attackers became obvious. A towering half-man, half-dragon, it emerged from the portal, clad in the armor of the Twilight Hammer cult. The hulking behemoth was an unyielding force, overwhelming Varian and nearly killing him. Meanwhile, Archbishop Benedictus, he stood in front of his loving congregation, certain that his Twilight brothers, they'd been successful in their attack of the Rinns. He could imagine no other outcome. The idea that anything could triumph over the agents of the void, it was unthinkable. Benedictus saw this as a day of great triumph, and that through him, the world would be purified of the great tyranny of the light. The citizens of Stormwind, they were paying about as much attention to what the Archbishop had to say as they would have in a boring history class, because when Benedictus told them with his booming voice that the world was being cleansed by divine fire, and that they would remember these days as the crucible from which a new age was born, nobody of them screamed, nobody panicked, or even raised an eyebrow. They simply cheered. Nobody knew that their kindly Archbishop was a key member to the Twilight Hammer cult. After all, like he had told Anduin a short time before, to heal the world, we must keep a few secrets. It was a huge shock to the Archbishop to see the king and prince that he had left to the assassins stumble onto the stage. He was completely speechless, but he bowed and stepped aside, giving way to the king that he had taken for death. Now was not the time to show his hand. Following this, the leader of the Twilight's Hammer, Yogg-Saron, he would be slain at the hands of adventurers that stormed the towering bastion of Twilight. With the leader gone, the cult was going to need a new, maniacal sociopath to lead them, and Archbishop Benedictus was just the right person. While still keeping his involvement with the cult hidden, he chose a brand new name for himself. He was now going by the title of Twilight Father. The next place where we see the Twilight Hammer cult and their insane leader, that would be in Dragonblight. Deathwing has tasked them with destroying the dragons of Wyrmrest Temple, and to do so, they would need a flight of vile chromatic dragons. These were the vile experiments of Deathwing's son Nefarian. He sought to transfer the essence of all the different flights into one type of dragon, which would then be stronger than the others. His experiments had proven futile, and so too did the experiments of the Twilight Hammer on the ex that they had kidnapped from the blue dragon Kiragosa. The whelps born, they were malformed and unable to make it to Drake size. However, Nefarian had one final experiment, the culmination of all his knowledge, a large, 5-headed chromatic dragon that was named Chromatus. But Nefarian, he was killed before he could breathe life into the vile abomination. Benedictus, the Twilight Father, he saw this monstrosity as the beginning of the end. Chromatus lives, he told Kiragosa with a malevolent joy, so that all the aspects will die. Chromatus was successfully brought to life by the Twilight Father and his cult, but with Thrall, now going by the name of Goel, aiding the remaining dragon aspects, they were able to defeat Chromatus. In a wild panic, the Twilight Father pleaded to his master Deathwing, to save his life. Although Deathwing was enraged at Benedictus' failure, he ultimately sent him back to Stormwind and told him to lay low. Archbishop Benedictus, now also known as the Twilight Prophet, he saw Thrall as the final obstacle that could stop the mighty Deathwing, and he sent the newly corrupted Archdruid of the Flame, Fandral Stackhelm, to stop him. For a moment, it appeared that the Twilight Prophet might have succeeded. Fandral, having torn the elements themselves from Thrall and leaving his spirit scattered amongst the elemental planes. But like most of Benedictus and the Twilight Hammer plans, this was short-lived. Goel was returned to the full might with the aid of his beloved Agra and adventurers, and Fandral, he met his fate shortly after. With failure after failure under his belt, the Twilight Prophet took matter into his own hands. He tried to kill Thrall himself at Wormrest Temple, which we see go down in the Hour of Twilight dungeon.
Get inside! Quickly! I'll hold them off! And now, Shaman, you will give the dragon's soul to me.
I will not, Archbishop. It will never be yours.
I suppose it has to be this way then. If only you'd seen what I've seen. Then you'd understand.
You were a figurehead of the light, Benedictus. How could you betray your own people?
There is no good, no evil, no light. There is only power. We serve the world's true masters. When their rule begins, we will share in their glory. And you, we will feast on your ashes. Now, die!
Benedictus had his forces attack Goel, even tried to convince him to hand over the dragon's soul. But ultimately, his deception was finally revealed. We were all aware of the dark side of the Archbishop, and Thrall, together with the champions, they took his life.
I looked into the eyes of the dragon and despaired.
You can tell the bishop in the Cathedral of Light of the fate of Benedictus, yet they will turn you away. Bishop Farding insisted that he was away on a mission, and following Farding's mysterious disappearance, we now have Bishop Arthur, who will tell us that both Benedictus and Farding, they're conducting their own missions. And while he has been slain in Warcraft, you can have the limitless pleasure of slaying him over and over again in Hearthstone, coming with the beautiful flavor text nobody expects.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
He really is making no effort at hiding his real allegiance in the tavern. And although he goes by the name of Archbishop Benedictus, he's still wearing the full dark purple attire of the Twilight Hammer cult.
My master will return!
Like any good cult leader, he is very capable at drawing others to his cause. And upon being played onto the battlefield, he will shuffle a copy of your opponent's deck into yours. Quite a charismatic man, once devoted to the light, but the tragedies of the world, it pushed him towards the dark side. Kinda makes you wonder what other priests might fall if you push them far enough, but that might be something for the future. For now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, see ya!